Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So we are on the fifth chapter of this book, Krishna Consciousness, the Matchless Gift. In the fourth chapter, we saw Srila Prabhupada introduce the concept of tapasya, austerity. Tapasya is voluntarily accepting some difficulty to uplift ourselves. So Srila Prabhupada says that, following rules is natural as humans. He gives an example. Human beings are supposed to stop at the red light. A dog does not stop at the red light, it crosses it, but it doesn't get fined because it's an animal. It's not expected to act civil. But for us, there are some rules which govern our lives, which helps us to actually become more, to move towards spiritual life, to think of ourselves less, basically to come out of selfishness. So these concepts of tapasya was introduced. Prabhupada towards the end talks about charity also. So now let's see fifth chapter. After having exhibiting our seriousness in practicing Krishna consciousness, now chapter 5 is going to talk about learning steadiness in Krishna consciousness. So let's see. When one reaches the topmost position of material opulence, that means one is very, very rich, the tendency for renunciation is natural. Interesting point. When one becomes so successful, so powerful, actually we have seen in the history of our current generations also, we can see that many sons or daughters of billionaires, rich people, they kind of give up everything. Some became monks. We have seen people who have given up their money, or many of the very rich people, they start to go into social work, feeling not very satisfied with so much money, so much wealth. They start to, not be so much bothered. They become little renounced in their behavior. There are two tendencies in this material world. So Prabhupada is introducing to this concept of bhoga, which means sense enjoyment, and tyaga, which means the renunciation of this material world. Without guidance, however, one does not know how to renounce. First of all, one wants to enjoy. The bhoga vritti is there. And when he is frustrated in enjoyment, enough, he renounces, tyaga vritti. Again, when he is tired of renunciation, he enjoys, like a clock pendulum which swings from side to side. So the nature of this material world is bhoga tyaga, bhoga tyaga. You like it, you have it, then you don't want it. And after not having it for some time, again you want it. So a person shifts from being sense enjoyer. You see many people come to temple, do a lot of other things, and come to temple, do a lot of other things. This shift in the pendulum is keep on moving, fluctuating. So Prabhupada says we are thus all vacillating. Nice word. Vacillating means unable to come to a decision. We are thus all vacillating from the platform of enjoyment to the platform of renunciation, back and forth with it. So Prabhupada then speaks. Karmis, fruitive workers, try to enjoy this world and reap the fruits of it. So sense gratifiers, they want to romanticize this world. They see beautiful beaches, beautiful mountains, and they're like, wow, this is a place that we must enjoy in every sense possible. Consequently, they are constantly traveling on expressways all day and night to engage in material enjoyment. This is the 1970s. Right now, traffics are so much that people are just commuting, like 4 hours a day, one direction, just traveling 4-6 hours just to get something, money or job or whatever. So they're willing to do all this for material enjoyment. On the other hand, there are others, predominantly the discontented youth, the hippies at the time, who don't want any part of this. They're tired of all this. Because many of the hippies at that time, in the 70s, 60s and 70s, they come from very affluent families. So they're tired seeing all the luxury, and there's no happiness in that. Thus, the world contains those engaged in bhoga and those engaged in tyaga. However, we will not be happy by following either of these paths because it is not our proper position to either enjoy or renounce. Since everything belongs to Krishna and nothing belongs to anyone else, whatever we possess is actually Krishna's property. Ishavasham idam sarvam. Since we have not produced trees, plants, waters, or the land, we cannot claim them. So, here's a good concept. Prabhupada says three kinds of people in this world: the karmis, the jnanis, and the devotees, the bhaktas. Karmis want to romanticize this world. They want to make this world a better place and live in it and enjoy it. The jnanis, they demonize this world. This world is filled with Maya. It's horrible. There's no point in this. They just want to get rid of everything, run away, just forget society and just become a recluse or something. So one wants to romanticize this world. One wants to demonize this world. What do the devotees want to do? The devotees want to utilize this world. Understanding that this world is an energy of the Lord, let us use everything in the service of the Lord. So the devotees are very practical. So Prabhupada continues to say, since we actually have nothing, we can renounce nothing. Or as it is said, naked we come into this world, naked we go out. I found this very interesting. Maybe some of you know this actually a Bible saying, biblical saying. So let's just look for it. Right? So it comes in a few places in the Bible. Here, it comes in the book of Timothy or the book of Job. Right? It's not Job, Job. Right? So he says, naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked shall I return. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. A beautiful principle. And it's true. We came with nothing, we're going to go out with nothing. So very interesting, Prabhupada quoting that. In the interim, the middle period, we falsely claim, this is my country, this is my home, this is my wife, these are my children, this is my property, this is my bank balance, etc. Such claims are false because when we came into this world, we came in empty-handed, and when we go out empty-handed. What then is the meaning of bhoga and tyaga? There's no sense to it, trying to enjoy something or trying to artificially give up something. In the light of the actual facts, they have no actual meaning. Bhoga is thievery, trying to enjoy something, it's not ours, it's thievery. And tyaga, renunciation of whatever never belonged to us, is a form of lunacy, craziness. So therefore we see then what are devotees? Hare Krishna, our sannyasis, our brahmacharis and all. We are people who want to utilize everything in Krishna service. Right? We are not running away from society. So therefore you'll see in ISKCON society, people using machinery, people utilizing gadgets and laptops, like we are using this online class and we are using speakers and mics and whatnot, because utility is the principle, Srila Prabhupada said. Because ultimately nothing is ours, but everything can be used to glorify the Lord or in Krishna's service. So very nice line. Bhoga is thievery, tyaga is lunacy. Right? Bhoga is thievery, tyaga is just craziness, thinking that you're giving up everything. Somewhere recently, someone sent me an article, some rich businessman in Gujarat, he kind of like gave away 200 crores of maybe rupees, just he and his wife just gave it all off and they became monks or renunciates like that. Okay. So in this regard, Krishna gives us this direction. Sarva dharman parityaja mam ekam sharanam vraja. Although we have created different types of religion based on bhoga and tyaga, we are thus advised to give up all of them and surrender to Krishna. It is not within our power to enjoy or to renounce. So we are servants, servants of the Lord, Jivera Swarupohi Krishnera Nityadas. A servant should not try to enjoy the property of the master. That will be out of line. And a servant cannot be renounced from the service of the master, of the property of the master. The servant has to be in servitude, right? Utilizing the property for the pleasure of the master. That is his perfect position. When renunciation is recommended in Bhagavad Gita, it refers to renunciation of everything that we falsely claim to possess. When Krishna says, Sarva dharman parityaja, give up all kinds of nonsense philosophies and ideas, what is that? Give up all the kind of false claims that we have. A child may take $100 bill from his father and try to keep it, although he may not know how to use it. The father may beg the child, dear boy, kindly give it to me. The child does not know that the money actually belongs to the father, nor does he know that he had best hand it to his father, for he simply does not know how to use it. So we are like the child, God is the father. We have taken something, God says, give it, I'll this is the best use to give it to me. No, we want to hold on to it. Neither does it benefit ourselves, nor do we know how the proper utility of it. We're like that child. Similarly, Krishna says, renounce your work for me. Renounce your wealth and property for me. Krishna is not a beggar. for everything belongs to him, but he does treat us like small children. Compliance to his request to give everything to him is called tyaga, renunciation, and is one of the means by which we can attain elevation to Krishna consciousness. So it means that everything we do, we try to connect it to Krishna. If you have to give someone food, why don't you give them prasadam? If you have to help someone, help them to be Krishna conscious. Somehow or other, connect whatever you have. You have a vehicle, drive to the temple. You have a big house, organize some programs. You have good contacts, connect them to the temple. Right? You're very famous and popular, great, use it to spread Krishna's glories. Austerity, celibacy, equanimity, and charity are all required for the realization of the ultimate absolute truth. So here are some qualities. One needs to be a little adjustable. That's what it means by austerity. You should be able to adjust. Some people are so rigid, they don't want to adjust to any situation. Right? Celibacy, the basic principle. Equanimity, one should be tolerant in both loss and failure, whatever it may be, little matured. And charity, having a soft heart to give. Krishna consciousness is not concerned with the relative truth, but with the absolute. In Srimad Bhagavatam, Vyasadeva offers his obeisances to the supreme absolute truth. Satyam Param Dhimhi. He offers his respects not to the relative categorical truths, but to the samam bonam, the absolute truth. So in many of Srila Prabhupada's works, you'll see Prabhupada use a lot of Latin phrases. Samam bonam is a Latin phrase. It means ultimate good. Samam means ultimate. Bonum means like, bueno. It means good. So samam bonum, ultimate good. And it's understood that the ultimate good is God. Right? You'll see many other phrases Prabhupada uses Latin words, like in toto or argumentum et baculum in the seven cantos Srimad Bhagavatam. The argument that leads to the stick, the fight actually, the discord that leads to a fight, argumentum et baculum. So like that, Prabhupada uses very wonderful. It is the duty of Brahmanas to practice those qualities by which the absolute truth can be realized. Now you have to remember that we saw in the earlier chapters, who is a Brahmana? What is a Brahmana? Brahma Janati iti Brahmana. One who knows God. Remember that if we saw one verse which says the difference between Brahmana and Kripana in the earlier chapters. So here, Brahmana means one who actually knows God factually. Such people are supposed to practice the qualities by which God can be realized. Brahmanas must be qualified by practicing cleanliness, truthfulness, control of the mind, senses, simplicity, and by cultivating faith in the Vedas, the scriptures, particularly Bhagavad Gita. So these are some precursors, some, pre-qualifiers Prabhupada is giving that we should cultivate in ourselves. This can be cultivated if we adopt four regulatory principles and satsang with devotees, will get faith in the Shastras. Like we are studying this book, we are trying to understand. When Krishna says, I am the Supreme Lord, we have to accept him with faith, not foolishly, but with full knowledge and practically apply this acceptance in our daily life. So many times I ask people, when they become devotees after some time practicing, I ask them, why is Krishna God? Can you explain? So they try, and it's good, we should. And then I ask them, why are we chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra? Tell me about this. Why only this Hare Krishna Maha Mantra? Where is it from? What is it about? So we should also test ourselves, do I know the answers to these things? A Brahmana is not created by birth, because we saw the verse which says that, Janmana Jayate Shudra. Everyone is born Shudra. But by education, practice, and knowledge, it is not a question of birth, but quality, as pointed out by Krishna in Bhagavad Gita. Chaturvaranyam maya shrishtam guna karma vibhagasa. Krishna says the four varnas, right? The four kinds of occupational duties, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. These are my creation, maya shrishtam. God says that I created these four divisions, occupational work. And I have divided them based on what? Not birth. Guna karma, based on qualities, guna, and karma, type of work. So if a person, how do you, for example, how do you identify a blacksmith? A person has to be very strong, stout, expert in smelting iron and forming different shapes. That's a blacksmith. In today's day and age, you'll have people in the American or European countries with the surname blacksmith, but they may not know or carry the qualities of a blacksmith. How are they blacksmiths? Right? So these are just simple occupational duties. So we have to fit it by the quality and the type of work that we do. Tasya kartaram apiman vidya akartaram avyayam. Okay. One must not only have the qualities of a Brahmana, but one should also work as a Brahmana, for one's qualities are tested by his work. We find in India many taxi drivers are from Brahmanical families. They are not Brahmanas, but they are from, Brahmanical lineage. And when we meet them, they say, "Oh, Maharaj, oh, Sir, Prabhu, we are also Brahmanas," and they show off their thread. But then they drive taxis and they eat here and there, and they chew gutka and tambaku and pan and all these kind of things. How is that Brahmanical? Isn't it? So it is not seminical, it's not just seminal line, it is actually by qualities and actions. Prabhupada gives an example. If one is a qualified engineer, but simply sits down at home and does not do work, what is his value? Right? So we did engineering. So we call such people as graduate engineers. When you enter the field, or when you graduate from the university, you're immediately not called as an engineer, you're known as a graduate engineer. Till the point you register with some engineering body or the board of engineers or something like that, then you're recognized actually as a practicing engineer. Right? Similar to medical, similar to many other fields also. Why? Because we don't want people to just get a degree. It doesn't make sense. Right? You don't become qualified by just knowing, you become qualified by doing. And many of the professional degrees, like even in medical and even in engineering and so many others, nowadays they have certain criteria that if you want to renew your license or continue getting upgrades or whatever kind of qualifications, you have to yearly attend certain amount of seminars or classes to upgrade or keep in touch, your knowledge up to date. Then you're considered actually a professional. Similarly, unless one works as a Brahmana, acts as a Brahmana, there's no value to him simply saying, "I am a Brahmana." One must therefore work as a Brahman, act as a Brahman, by fully engaging in the service of Param Brahman, Kṛṣṇa, the Supreme Brahman. How can service to the Absolute Truth be executed? Yamena Niyamena cha. The practice of yoga or linking with the Supreme is based on the principles of regulation and control. Regulation cannot be executed without control. Therefore, one must be thoughtful and purify himself. Therefore, the onus of practicing Kṛṣṇa conscious, the onus of advancing in Kṛṣṇa conscious is in our hands. Right? We have to be thoughtful. How much do you really want it? How much are you really eager for it? With that degree, one can advance. Right? Like Prabhupada writes in Nectar of Instruction in the beginning, advancement is dependent on the attitude of the follower. Right? So it all actually depends on us. If one wants to pass an examination, he has to go to school, follow the principles of the school, and take some pains in his study, and then gradually he will become successful. So this is a school of bhakti. If he plays all day on the street, how can he expect success? Therefore, in the process being explained by Sukadeva Goswami, the first necessity is tapasya, austerity. So even we have many people who come in touch with ISKCON and Hare Krishna, and they don't want to practice very strictly or sincerely. So they become like peripheral devotees. They can never much advance, right? It'll take a long time. Even if austerity and brahmacharya are painful, because we want to be unrestricted. Initially it feels so difficult. Can't eat here, can't eat that, can't take this, can't take that, can't see this, can't see that. But as soon as we are regulated, what appeared to be painful is in practice not painful. So in one sense, it is a school of bhakti. It's also like a, if I may say, military training, where people break you down and make you up kind of thing. So regulation, life of very strict regime and discipline is there. And after a while following, one finds it very easy because one gets accustomed to it. So Prabhupada continues to say, there are two classes of men. Those who are sober, it's called dhira, and those who are extravagant, flamboyant, adhira. When one, in spite of provocation or in spite of the presence of a source of mental agitation, can remain steady in his position, he is called a dhira. Right? Despite provocation or agitation, person remains very stable and continuous is called a dhira. An example of dhira is given by Kalidas Pandit, a great Sanskrit poet who wrote a book called Kumara Sambhava. Prabhupada also quotes this example in another small book, Laws of Nature, wherein he has given an example concerning Lord Shiva. It appears that when the demigods, the Devatas, were fighting the demons and they were being defeated, they decided that they could be saved by a commander-in-chief born from the semen of Lord Shiva. So the Devatas, they needed a general, a commander-in-chief, and they thought that if a son is born of Lord Shiva is so powerful, Mahadev, he will be a great general to us. He can fight on our side. Lord Shiva, however, was in meditation, and to acquire the needed stamina was very difficult. They therefore sent Parvati, the daughter of the Himalaya Parvat, right? The mountains. They sent Parvati, a young girl, it is the eternal consort actually, Durga, who appeared before Lord Shiva and worshipped his genitals. Although this young girl sat before Lord Shiva and touched his genitals, Lord Shiva was steady in meditation. Kalidas says, here is an example of a dhira, for despite a young girl's touching his genitals, he was undisturbed. So this entire episode, this entire pastime of Lord Shiva is here to glorify the position of how he's so wrapped in meditation. So we know when Parvati asks him that what are you meditating or who are you meditating on, he quotes the verse Rama Rama Rameti, that I'm meditating on the names of Lord Ram. So much his focus is that he's not swayed by any other kind of externals. Prabhupada gives another example. Similarly, someone sent a young prostitute to disturb Haridas Thakur. So Haridas Thakur is one of the associates of Lord Chaitanya. He is known as the Naamacharya of our parampara because he used to chant 192 rounds every day, 300,000 names, holy names. Born in a Muslim family, but a great devotee. So one time the Muslim magistrate, they sent a prostitute to Haridas to defame his character because the Muslims are not happy that he, being born a Muslim, is taking to the chanting of the Hindu god's name. Upon hearing her appeals for intercourse, Haridas Thakur said, yes, your proposal is very nice. You're such a gentleman. Please sit down, but let me finish my chanting and then we shall enjoy. So this is the way that Haridas Thakur showed compassion to this prostitute. Now, if someone chants 192 rounds, you're going to be basically chanting 22 hours a day, 20 hours a day, right? So he was chanting, he said, let me finish my rounds. And she was just waiting there, hearing him chant. Morning came and the prostitute became impatient. But Haridas Thakur replied, I am very sorry. I could not finish my chanting. Come tonight. Again, the prostitute came for 3 nights. And on the 3rd night, she fell down at his feet, confessed the intentions and pleaded with him. I was induced to perform this act by a man who is your enemy. Kindly excuse me. Haridas Thakur then replied, I know all about that, but I allowed you to come here for 3 days so that you could be converted and become a devotee. Now, take these chanting beads and go on chanting. I am leaving this place. So Haridas Thakur could have left, but he stayed just to deliver this sincere person. Because despite her profession of being a prostitute, she was very sincere that she stood and she waited. And in one sense, Chaitanya Charitamrita describes that when she came to see Haridas Thakur, she would first offer obeisances to the tulsi plant kept outside his kutir, his hermitage. And then she would sit down and very patiently just hear and sometimes even murmur, no? Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So seeing her sincerity, Haridas Thakur thought that he wanted to give her some mercy. So in future, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita explains that she became a very great devotee. And she would also chant 300,000 names a day in 192 rounds, sitting in the same place. And so it's a great glorification. So that is the history of ISKCON. Every one of us are like that. We came from very horrible like backgrounds, but power of Krishna consciousness that we became purified and uplifted. That's why this book is called the Matchless Gift. It is that kind of gift which can transform and uplift our lives. Here's another example of Dhira, who has control of his body, Deha, the words, Vak, and intelligence, Buddhi, 3 things. The acting faculty, the thinking faculty, and the speaking faculty. All 3 are controlled. One's body, words, and intelligence We say sometimes body, mind, and words. You can remember this BMW. Use your BMW in Krishna service. Body, mind, and words. Should be controlled by one who is dhira and who actually knows the principles of religion. We have been continuously committing sinful activities since time immemorial. No one can say that they're innocent or clean or good. And we do not know when this began, but this life is meant for rectification of all the mistakes that we have committed. If one sets fire to unwanted grass and creepers in the field, they will be burned. Similarly, by the process of austerity and penance, one can liquidate all sinful activities and become purified. But Sukadev Goswami suggests an alternative process. Kechit kevalaya bhaktya vasudeva parayana agam dunvanti karshnena niharam iva bhaskara. So here Prabhupada is saying that if we follow austerity and penance, again, from the beginning of this chapter, of this beginning of this book, from the first chapter, we were discussing about how people to come out of hellish sufferings, right? As the beginning of the sixth canto shows. So their atonement is prescribed, doing some purificatory processes, but it's not very solid, not very good. Again, the tendency is still there. So here, Sukadeva Goswami suggests bhakti. Kechit kevalaya bhaktya, right? Generally, if one leads an austere and pious life of celibacy, equanimity, charity, etc., people will say that he is a very pious man. But simply by becoming Krishna consciousness, Krishna conscious, one can kill all the resultant actions of his past sinful life. Example, a fog disappears as soon as the sun rises, and Krishna rises with the brilliance of 1,000 suns. So like we discussed earlier also, in our earlier recordings and readings, that sin itself can be eradicated through prayaschita or through atonement, but the sinful tendency cannot. You may burn the grass, but again, when drops of water fall, grass will grow again. What is the way to remove grass totally? You have to weed it out by the roots. So bhakti is that it weeds out by the roots, cannot appear again. Just like when sun is there, fog cannot have an existence. This process is accepted only by someone who is very fortunate. It's not so easy. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore says, Brahmanda Brahmite Kona Bhagyavan Ji. Bhagyavan means fortunate. Guru Krishna Prasade Pai Bhukti Lata Bij. By the grace of Krishna and the spiritual master, a fortunate person, after wandering throughout the universe in different species of life, receives the seed of pure devotional service. Krishna consciousness is meant for the very fortunate. For simply by accepting this one process, a person can surpass all duties of austerities, renunciation, celibacy, etc. So Krishna consciousness means you don't have to externally, separately try to gather qualities or follow these regulations and that. Just be a devotee. Automatically, you become vegetarian because you're a devotee. Automatically, you will not do this, you will not do that because you're a devotee. Automatically, you save a lot of money because you don't have to waste it on nonsense cinema and this and that, isn't it? So being a devotee naturally encompasses all these other good things. Sukadeva Goswami declares, Kechit Kevalaya Bhaktya. One who is extremely fortunate takes to the process of pure devotional service. So my thoughts here now are that, how do we become fortunate? Well, that has been explained by many Acharyas. The beginning of fortune is in our contact with devotees. The more we contact with devotees, the more we actually are in the association of devotees, learning from them, serving them, being with them, the faster we grow in bhakti. So if you surround yourself with trash, you will become trash over time. But if you surround yourself with devotees, you will become devotee over time. Right? So as much as time you have spent with the devotees, go to temple, do some service, learn, hear, study, associate, preach, share. This is what association is. Kevalaya Bhakti refers to pure, unalloyed devotional service in which there is no desire but to please Krishna. Right? That is what is called pure devotion. So our Vaishnava or Gaudiya Sampradaya is into pure devotional service. Nothing for me, everything for Krishna. Why are you chanting Hare Krishna? Are you trying to escape your sins? No. Why are you chanting Hare Krishna? Do you want a kingdom like Indra? No. Why are you chanting Hare Krishna? Do you want to become demigod? No. We are chanting Hare Krishna because it pleases Krishna. One should not render devotional service just to increase his income. Right? Some people think if I become a devotee, Kṛṣṇa will give me some money. We want money to become happy. But if we take to Kṛṣṇa consciousness, automatically we will become so happy that we will neglect money. Brilliant, Oh my God. So people want money thinking it will bring them happiness. But so many people in this world have so much money, they are not happy. But if we become Kṛṣṇa conscious, automatically we are happy that we are not even bothered about money. Money will automatically come. This is like has been Prabhupada's saying or signature statement since the beginning of ISKCON. Prabhupada tells it that money will automatically come. Don't worry. Happiness will come. There is no need to endeavor for these things separately. Once I just share, His Holiness Bhakti Purushottam Swami Maharaj was sharing with us in a meeting that he's preaching to some very underprivileged rural people in the northeast of India. And he said that, we don't do much to personally develop them socially, but he said that somehow or other I see when they become devotees, automatically their lifestyle starts to improve. They become automatically very clean, they become very presentable, and they become very, smart. They somehow or other, they start getting phones, they start getting books, they start getting access. So it's amazing that how spirit nourishes matter. We try to work on matter, everything material, but ultimately if we nourish spirit, spirit will nourish matter. So it was Dhruv Maharaj who lamented. Dhruv Maharaj wanted a kingdom greater than his father, greater than his grandfather. But when he saw the darshan of the Lord, he lamented, what a fool I am, that I was going to God to ask for these things. How foolish I was that I took to devotional service with the desire for material profit. He was praying to God that please give me a kingdom. God can give you love, prema. Why are you asking for kingdom? Ordinarily, for material profit, one goes to his boss or some rich man or demigod. But a devotee does not go anywhere but to Kṛṣṇa, even if he has material desires. Okay, it's not pure devotional service, but at least they're going to Kṛṣṇa. If one goes to Kṛṣṇa even for material advantages, the day will come when he forgets the material desires, just like Dhruv Maharaj. So if someone is saying that I'm not ready, oh, I still have so much material desires, then okay, you worship Kṛṣṇa to fulfill your material desires. One day will come where Kṛṣṇa will purify that desire also. But if you go to some other devata, demigod, or some other person to fulfill those desires, that desire will never become purified. So here Dhruv Maharaj was repentant and said, I came to Kṛṣṇa and asked for something material, just like one who has pleased a very rich man and who asks him for a few grains of rice. If you have pleased a very rich man, then you can ask for so much more, but you ask for very meager things. If a rich man agrees to give us whatever we want, but we ask him only for a few grains of rice, is that very intelligent? Asking Kṛṣṇa for material benefit is exactly like this. One need not ask Kṛṣṇa extraneously for material happiness. For material happiness will automatically roll before his very feet. What a expressive statement. Pleading, please take me, please take me. Right? So we discussed before also the reason of suffering is sin. So one becomes a devotee, one does not sin. So therefore one will not suffer. So Prabhupada writes, those who are practicing Kṛṣṇa consciousness are not in need of material opulence. What are the material opulence? Wives, children, happiness, home. For all of these are acquired automatically by the grace of Kṛṣṇa. We don't aspire for it. There is no need to ask Kṛṣṇa for these material things, but one should simply request him. How we should pray? Please engage me in your service. So at this point, we like to discuss about pure devotional service. So let's see a verse from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Leela 19.149. Supreme Personality of Godhead Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is speaking. Krishna Bhakta Niskama Ataeva Shant Bhukti Bhukti Siddhi Kami Sakali Ashant. So the Krishna Bhakta, the devotee of the Lord, because he is niskam, because he is selfless, he does not have any material desires, he is always peaceful. But those who aspire for three things, bhukti, which means material enjoyment. Either you want to enjoy your senses, you want to enjoy wealth, money, fame, or this kind of things. Bhukti. One wants to enjoy money, physical enjoyment, nice places. This is called bhukti. Or mukti. One wants to just get out of this world. right? One just is tired, sick and tired of this world. My God, just get me out of this. That is a mokshu, muktikami. And siddhi, one is looking for some perfections of power in this world. I want to be the most powerful person. I want to have this ability, that ability, right? This is siddhi kami. One wants to be known as the best footballer, the best cricketer, the best artist. So this is siddhi kami. I want some perfection. So all these three things are selfish. I. I want to enjoy bhukti. I want to get out mukti. I want to be the best siddhi, right? Such people, because it's I consciousness, they'll be always ashant. They'll always be, how you say, not peaceful. So, going back. Now, those who are practicing, okay, we read this. Right. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna also promises that if one engages in his service, he will supply what is needed and preserve what is already possessed. Okay. So this is a very famous verse in Bhagavad Gita. Yoga kshemam vahamyaham. Whatever you have, Krishna will maintain, and whatever you don't have, Krishna will provide. Right? One of his final instructions to Arjuna indicates total dependence on him. Chetasa sarva karmani mai sanyasa matparaha buddhi yogamupashritya machita satatam bhava. So, when I read this verse, I'm being a little nostalgic because almost 2 decades ago, when I read this book, my initial years in Krishna consciousness, I was so amazed at this section. I could not remember the details, but I remember this verse. And in fact, I memorized this verse. And for many years, it was my signature in my email. I was using Yahoo at the time. So every time I would send an email, my name would come. And this quotation from Bhagavad Gita, Chetasa sarvakarmani mai sanyasa matpara buddhi yogam upasritya machita satatam bhava. And I was so amazed that this is what Krishna wants us to do. In all activities, Chetasa sarvakarmani, just depend on him. Mai sanyasa matpara. Give up everything, all your thoughts of, I'll depend on my intelligence, I'll depend on my this, I'll depend. No, just depend only on Krishna. And work under my protection. Buddhi yogam upasritya machita satatam bhava. In such way, you'll always be fully conscious. So I love this because this is what Krishna consciousness is. To be always fully conscious of Krishna. Whatever we do, depend on Krishna and always be absorbed and, seeking Krishna's protection, seeking Krishna's guidance, seeking Krishna's assistance, seeking Krishna's advice in everything that we do, and try to offer it as a service onto Krishna's lotus feet. So it is the 18th chapter, 57 verse. And like this, Prabhupada signs off the 5th chapter of this book. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.